Hey everyone, this is Matt, and in today's video, I have a ban list prediction video for you. That's right, Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG ban list season is upon us, right? There is very likely to be a ban list either by the end of this month or beginning of next month. Um, because OCG already got theirs. It's been about 3 months since we got the last one, and we're in a new format. I definitely think that we should start having a new ban list soon. So yeah, I definitely expect this to drop soon, and plenty of other Yu-Gi-Oh content creators are doing videos about ban list predictions and stuff. So I figure, you know what? I might as well get in on it because, I guess it's like free clicks or whatever. I better do it now, while people are still curious and searching and clicking about for that, right? So let's get started. So just like with my previous ban list prediction videos, I'm gonna break this ban list prediction down into two. There's gonna be like two routes tracks that we're gonna be following, right? I'm gonna put out I'm gonna talk about cards that I think should be on the ban list or limited or semi-limited, etc. Right? And cards that will actually be, um, banned or limited or semi-limited or whatever. So sometimes, I don't think Konami actually has the guts to do some of these changes, even though they should, and and they might even actually still do it. It's just a matter of their main goal is to sell products, right? It's not to um, make an enjoyable, competitive experience for the player. They don't care. All they care about is money. So, um, yeah, so keep that in mind. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to start with the unlimited section first. So here are the cards that I think should be unlimited. All right. So we have 10 cards on this list, right? Let's start with the first card, Fusion Destiny. So Fusion Destiny was semi-limited. 2 ban lists ago because DP was everywhere. It was a pain in the ass, and in fact, I was hoping that this card would go to 1. However, if you'll recall from the last ban list for May, they did ban Verde Anaconda, and then all of a sudden, DP price plummeted. Nobody was playing Fusion Destiny or the DP package outside of Heroes, and honestly, like Heroes should be able to play this card at 3. Um, and I think yeah, it's currently at 2. If we bump this up to 3, I don't think we're going to be seeing DP pop up everywhere, especially given that one of the major decks right now, Tier Limits, is a deck that uh, mills cards from the deck to the graveyard. Like if you mill, so like if you still try to run a DP package without Anaconda and you mill Celestial and or Dasher, or it's like, well, I guess you can't. Your Fusion Destinies are all dead. So yeah, I think this card can go back to 3. We don't have Anaconda anymore. I don't think it'll be a problem, but I do think that hero players should be able to play this card at 3. Um, it gives access to their boss monster. It gives them a lot of plays. Yeah, I think it's now a good spot. It's healthy to put this card at 3 now. So, don't know if Konami's going to leave it at 2 just to make sure that DP doesn't come back. But I think going from 2 to 3 is not going to make a huge deal. All right. Dynamite Knight, the true Draco fighter. So last ban list, Dynamite got semi-limited. So it used to be limited. It used to be at 1, and then it moved to 2. And since moving to 2, absolutely nothing changed. Like, I have not seen a single True Draco deck at locals or anywhere. I haven't seen it online. Nobody is really playing True Draco. Why? Because True Draco sucks. It's strictly worse than Eldritch. It's like mostly worse than most control decks, like even Dino Waifus, right? Um, yeah, this card is it coming back to 3 is not going to suddenly make True Draco relevant again, or even dominant or nothing, right? And since Konami already moved this card to 2, it goes without saying that typically Konami doesn't like to leave cards on the semi-limit list for too long, and they typically use the semi-limit list as like a stepping stone to go from either to 3 or to 1 or to ban sometimes, right? So yeah, I think Dynamite can come back to 3. On that note, Ben 10 can come back to 3. Yeah, Drytron is still a relevant deck, but without Eva, they're not putting up the, you know, many negates that they used to put up in the past. I think that Drytron should still be a viable deck, and there are other ritual decks that could definitely make use of Ben 10. So I don't think Ben 10 is like a cancerous card or like an unhealthy card for the game. As long as Drytron is not able to make a free 10 plus negate board just from having like 1 or 2 cards. So Yeah, and obviously Konami moved Ben 10 from one to back to two, which I thought was like unnecessary and also like urgent, right? I think this could have stayed at one for longer, but alas, uh, yeah, this is I think Konami will move this back to three. Um, Next, Fire Formation Tenki. This is just like Ben 10. This is a card that got limited not that long ago, and then Konami decided to bring it back to two on the last list. Nothing really changed. I think Tri Brigade is still a pretty irrelevant deck. Don't really see it being played anywhere. Not online, not at locals, etc. So yeah, I think this card can come back to three. Honestly, I mean, Tri Brigade has more problematic cards than this card, right? Like Revolt and Fractal are way bigger problem cards than this card. Um, so yeah, if Tri Brigade does come back like and become a problem, we don't really hit Tenki. I think we go after Fractal and or Revolt, right? And in my previous ban list videos, I did mention that Revolt should be at one. But anyway, uh, Wall of Revealing Light. This is another weird card that has been limited for a long time, and Konami on the last ban list moved this to semi-limit. So this went to two, and absolutely nothing changed. So I think this is going to come to three, and I think Konami will put this at three. Same logic here. Trickstar Light Stage has been at one for a long time. Konami last ban list brought it to two, and I think they're going to bring it to one. So yeah, this didn't change anything. I saw a couple Light Star decks, but they're not. It's not good. Like it doesn't do that much. So yeah, this card can go back to three. All right, so I think those were like the easy ones. Now let's get into my hot takes of what I think Konami should do. Right. All right, here we have Metaverse. Ooh, Metaverse to three. It's currently at one. Yes. But wait, what about Mystic Mind? All right, so I would only say Metaverse should be at three if and only if they limit Mystic Mind to one or ban Mystic Mind, right? So as you'll see later in my video, right, I do call for a Mystic Mind ban or Mystic Mind to one, right? And if and only if that happens, Metaverse can come back to three, in my opinion, right? Because yeah, it's a field spell searcher similar to Terraforming, but it's a trap card. So if you're a combo deck, you can't really like rely on this card to getting your field spell, right? Obviously, it would be too cancerous at three if Mystic Mind was still at three, or even if it was at two, right? So I think that this card can come back to three if and only if Mystic Mind, um, you know, this gets hit. Otherwise, leave it as is at one. Upstart Goblin. I've always called for this card to come back to three in all my previous, but like I mean, it just seems unnecessary for it to be at one, especially since like if you're playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's like game three and like time is about to be called, like this could just give your opponent the win. So yeah, so the 1,000 life points can be an issue, but also like the thing about Upstart Goblin is I don't think decks are gonna abuse this. Like for example, you might say, oh, if you have three Upstart Goblins, you can make your deck is quote unquote 37 cards. I mean, I don't think decks are actually gonna run this. Like, there are a lot of decks today that go over 40, like they're 42 or 45, and they win, they top. Like people are going more than 40 because there's just so many cards that they want to have in their deck, right? I don't think all of a sudden Upstart Goblin is going to I don't know, make anything broken or like unfair. So yeah, I think this card can absolutely come back to three. There are some decks that can utilize this card better than others. Obviously, Dark Magician. So we can Dark Magician, Sky Striker, right, can utilize this. But yeah, I just don't think that this card really should be at one, considering that like all these other cards that are much better are no longer at one either, right? Call by the Grave to three. All right, so this is a uh, controversial take, right? And I've always asked for Call by the Grave to be at three. Yes, I'm an Eldritch player, and I think Call by the Grave should be at three, even though I know Call by the Grave hits Eldritch. But guess what? If you're a good Eldritch player, you can play around it. Like there are ways to deal with Call by the Grave. But anyway, but the point is, one thing I've been noticing is that there are a lot of decks now, ever since Power of the Elements came out. I feel like the power and like the strength of hand traps has significantly dropped, and a lot of players are main decking cards like Dark Ruin No More. Like they're main decking blowout cards, right? Because it's just way more useful than like a single Ash or like a single Veiler, right? So I've been seeing a lot more, those kinds of cards in main decks. So I feel like the power of hand traps has gone down. But as a result, I think like this card is fine to come back to three. But also, the two most popular meta decks right now are Sprite and Tier Limits. And guess what? Call by the Grave absolutely wrecks Totally Awesome, right? Like people say, oh, Sprite is broken because they have like They can use Toad twice in one turn to negate, right? But if you're playing going second or even really going first, like Call by the Grave can absolutely wreck um, uh, Sprite. Literally take out two of their negates, interruptions, right? And then never have to deal with Toad ever again, right? So I feel like with the current format, hey, Konami, you don't want to touch Toad, you don't want to touch Sprite because you just released it. Fine, give us Call by the Grave 3, and I think that'll fix a lot of problems. And that also goes for tier limits. Guess what? Tier limits has all their monsters have graveyard effects, right? They want to mill monsters and then activate those monster effects to fusion summon from the graveyard. Trading call by means you can hit those monsters and like prevent them from banish them and prevent them from fusing. So I don't know. I think like hey, okay, tier limits and Sprite are very popular. Sprite is arguably oppressive in some cases, but again, call by the Grave back to 3. I think will fix a lot of these issues. Speaking of, Max C back to 3. Okay, so I say, wait, Max C is a level 2. Like, it's a problem card because it synergizes with Sprite, and there's also Beat Trooper that can search it. Like, Max C, obviously, this is a controversial take, will always be a hated card by combo players, right? But here, all right, let me give you a concession, right? I think Max C can come back to 3 if they errata Max C, okay? All right, how would they errata Max C, you may ask? All right, so let's read what this card says. This card says, quick effect, send this card from your hand to graveyard. This turn, each time your opponent special summons monsters, immediately draw one card. You can only use the effect of Max C once per turn. Okay, so how can we errata Max C to make it a little bit more fair? I think one way we can do that is, well, first of all, I mean, if we're putting Call by the Grave at 3, I think Max C at 3 is reasonable. But I think if we can errata Max C to make it like Cyframe Gamma. Wait, what do you mean Cyframe Gamma? Cyframe Gamma says effect can only activate, so you can only use Cyframe Gamma if you have no monsters on the field. So I think if Konami makes a single errata to Max C, it says, you can send this card from hand to graveyard. If they add a requirement that you can only use Max C's effect if you have no monsters on the field, right? Like no monsters. So that would make it so Max C is really good going second and does almost nothing going first, right? I think that would like balance things because if you think about it in a combo deck versus combo deck matchup, like the coin flip and winning the coin flip and going first is so much stronger than going second that I think having Max C as an option, just for going second, not for going first, can help balance out the going first versus going second dynamic. Maybe. Like, this is just an idea, okay? I just think that Max C is not that bad of a card, or that unhealthy of a card. And I think with a single errata, Konami can just make it perfectly fair, in my opinion. Especially if you also bring Call by the Call by the Grave back to 3. So, OCG has Max C at 3. They have 2 Call by, 1 crossout designator. Right now we're at 1 Call by, 3 crossout designator. So yeah, bring Call by to 3. We'll have 3 Call by, 3 designator, 3 Ash. Right? Like, are you realistically ever, even if Max C does come back, like how often is it actually resolving? Right? Yeah, sometimes. So I don't know. I think I can come back to 3, and I'll even give it to you. Okay, fine. What if let's errata it to make that happen? Right? So yeah, if Konami, if you're listening, or just think about it. Right? Anyway, so that's what I would personally like to see unlimited. What will actually be unlimited though, like if I were to predict Konami, basically the same first 6 cards I sent you, I showed you minus my personal wishes. So I don't think Metaverse is coming back to 3. I think even if Konami bans Mystic Mine, I think they're still going to keep Metaverse at 1 or maybe 2, but I don't think it's going to come back to 3 immediately. At least not for like a full rotation. That's if and only if, right? So these last 4 are like my personal preferences. But I think Konami will actually just have these 6. These 6 are the most logical based on what I've seen Konami do. That I'm pretty sure I can see these all coming back to unlimited, to the unlimited list. So yeah. So I guess if I had to wager, I would say yeah, I can see Konami bringing all 6 of these back to 3. But Konami, come on, Upstart Goblin. Just give us Upstart Goblin. Give me something juicier than just like the obvious semi-limit to unlimited, right? Okay, so that's a unlimited section. Let's go into the semi-limit wish list. So this is my personal thing of what I think should be semi-limited, right? So I have here Performa Pal Monkey Board. So for those of you who may recall from the last ban list, Performa Pal Monkey Board was limited, so it was banned, previously banned, and as of the May ban list became limited. I can totally see, just like Konami's been doing with all the pendulum monsters, like the OP pendulum monsters and whatever, um, in the last several ban lists, slowly bringing them all back to three. So I think they have that goal with Monkey Board. Monkey Board is, pendulums are not oppressive right now. It's not unfair. Like, it's not an unfair play style. I think Monkey Board can definitely come to two, and I can totally see Konami bringing it to two. Um, on that note, and these next two cards are similar to what my unlimited section. Call by the Grave to two, and Metaverse to two. So Call by the Grave to two. I prefer it at three, but I think Konami at least give us one list where it's at two, just so we can feel it out. It's at two in the OCG, right? They make it work. It's at two in Master Duel. Um, I guess the most interesting thing about this card is it's not a hard once per turn. So in theory, you can activate more than one Call by the Grave per turn. And if there's three Call by the Graves, you can technically use two on the same turn, right? It's very easy for you to draw two and have them both be live. With having it at two, at least you probably won't have two on the same turn, right? So I don't know. I think I would be okay with Call by at two if we don't want to bring it to three. If we think three is too much, I think two is reasonable, right? Works in OCG, works in Master Duel. I think it's fine. Metaverse to 2. Alright, so I think they did this in the OCG. In the OCG, they banned Missing Mind and they immediately brought Metaverse to 2. With Metaverse at 2, it can be searched via Trap Trick, right? But again, this is, no combo deck is going to be relying on Metaverse to make their plays, right? Because it's a trap card, right? Metaverse. So they're not gonna, so if they want a field spell, they want it on the same turn as they're making their plays, not on the subsequent turn. So again, the only reason this is on my list is Metaverse can come back to 2 if and only if Mystic Mind go to 1 or 0, okay? And honestly, like, I would prefer 0, but I think it could be okay at 1. Um, yeah, basically you don't want it to be abused too hard. Yeah, technically, you know, you have Metaverse at 2. It can be trap tricked into, so you have 5 copies of Metaverse, which means 5 copy of whatever field spell you want on top of that. So maybe you can say that's too much, but I mean, again, Mystic Mind is the only field spell that's like everybody hates and is annoyed with. So I think if you just deal with Mystic Mind, which honestly, after the last 2 major national tournaments, right, we had a Nationals where the winner was abusing Mystic Mind, and we had a YCS where the winner was abusing Mystic Mind. Hopefully Konami will get the picture. Hey, maybe we can finally do away with Mystic Mind. And if so, I think Metaverse can come to 2. Alright, so semi-limitless actual prediction. So what I actually think I can see Konami doing, right? So I can see Konami putting Water Entrenchers of the Temple at 2 and Rite of our Messier at 2. So I think these 2 cards should go to 1. This engine, the Adventure engine, is way too consistent. Yes, the best decks, for Sprite, tier limits, they don't really use Adventure. But still, this is just like, the Adventure engine will always pop up, right? No matter what. It will always pop up in some deck as long as it's around, and because it's way too consistent. So I think I can see Konami bumping these down to 2 each. I think they should be at 1 each, but I can totally see Konami going to 2 because if I recall in the OCG, they first brought them to 2 and then later brought them to 1. And they're currently at 1 in the OCG. So I can totally see Konami bumping these both down to 2. Soul Emergence. So I think this card should go to 1, but Konami's going to reprint this. My guess is it's going to be reprinted at a higher rarity, maybe Prismatic Secret, right? When it comes out in the Megatins in September. So I don't see them hitting it to 1, but I can see them hitting it to 2, just so they can still sell product, but also, say that they hit the consistency of Sword Soul. Because Sword Soul is like the most consistent deck probably like that we've had in a while. It's just way too reliable and consistent. And I think, again, they should go to 1, but I can see Konami first putting it at 2, just so they can still sell their product, and then seeing if maybe bring it to 1 later after they sold enough product. So these are the 3 that I've added of what I can actually see Konami doing. And then these 3 here. So I don't see them. I would be surprised if they actually brought Called By back to 2. But Monkey Board, same logic I use in my wish list. I can see it going back 2. I think it should come back 2, and I can actually predict Konami bringing it back to 2. Metaverse to 2 only if and only if Konami hit Mystic Mind. Otherwise, leave it at 1. All right, I have Anti-Spell Fragrance at 2. What's the deal here? All right, so this is everyone's saying, oh, anti-spell fragrance is about to get an ultimate rare reprint, right? Like it's, clearly Konami wants to sell product. Uh, you know, they know anti-spell fragrance is a card that people desire, right? So I can see them semi-limiting it. Now, the semi-limited make sense? No, but Konami is weird enough that they're going to do it. So what's my logic behind this? All right, so remember when Fusion Destiny got an Ultimate Rare reprint and then they knocked it down to 2, right? I think this is going to be the same logic where, okay, they recognize that it's a problematic card, right? But they want to sell product. They want to sell an Ultimate Rare reprint of this. So they're going to be like, all right, fine. We'll knock Anti-Spell down to 2. We can still reprint and sell our Ultimate Rare copies. And then in some future ban list, who knows when they're done selling or whatever, they'll bump this down to 1 or ban it. So I can totally see Konami doing this. I personally would not put anti-spell at 2. I think it should be at 1 or banned. Um, so yeah, this card is is a problem for a lot of decks, especially combo decks. Any deck that relies on spells, this is going to be a problem. But yeah, I can totally see Konami just randomly putting this at 2, and then, watch all the outrage of Yu-Gi tubers being like, anti-spell at 2, that doesn't fix anything, blah, blah, blah. Yes, guys, it's not going to fix the problem, but again, Konami wants to sell products, so they're not going to, uh, I would be very surprised if they actually ban this, like, straight up, especially when they have a reprint coming up, so keep that in mind. All right, so those are my semi-lit limit predictions. Let's go into the limit section. So this is where probably the part of the video that most of y'all are most interested in. So limited wish list. So these are the cards I hope will be limited, right? I don't think they all will be, but I think they should be. All right, so let's get into it. Rite of Artemisia and Water Enchanter's Temple. Both of these should go to 1. I've been saying this since last ban list. I just acknowledged, it's 1 in the OCG each. This engine is way too consistent. Like, has too much follow-up. I think like once you deal with this once, you shouldn't have to keep having to deal with it all the time. I think these cards should go to 1, but Konami will probably only bring them to 2 just because, well, that's kind of what they do, right? So in OCG they went to 2 first and then they went to 1. But yeah, engine is too consistent. Like, these are problem cards. They should go to 1. Nadir Servant to 1. Okay, so Konami of 2 ban lists ago put Nadir Servant at 2. This is around the time where Invoke DP was a deck that was topping and winning stuff, right? They hit that, so this was a staple of that deck, and or Dogmatic Invoke DP, right? Yeah, they left this card for 1 cycle on the semi-limit list, so even I was expecting them to move it out of the semi-limit last ban list, but for some reason they didn't. They just kept it. So yeah, I think this should go to 1. Like, there's no reason for it to stay at 2. I don't think it should come back to 3 because the Dogmatic engine is a little too splashable. You can say, oh, it got, power crept by other engines. Maybe, but it's still a good engine. Like, I mean, I feel like if it comes back to 3, we're going to see a lot more of it. I mean, it's already seen now. Like, I still see Dogmatica, like, Despia. I see Dogmatica Eldritch. Like, the engine is not gone. It's still there. It's still around, right? I just think that this card should be going to 1, right? There's no point to leave it on the semi-limit list. It just seems silly to me. Pot of Desires to 1. Okay, this is what I want to happen. I know Konami's not going to do this. Why? Because Konami put it at 1 2 lists ago, and then they put it at 2 on the last ban list. So clearly their trend is that they're going to bring it back to 3. So why did I not put this in my predictions for 3? Because I can see them letting it stew in the semi-limit list for one more cycle, right? Ban list cycle. But honestly, this card should go to 1. I think, wait, that's so random. Like, why would you Desires to 1? Because Desires effectively becomes Pot of Greed in any deck that doesn't rely on hard one-ofs, right? So, like, the reason decks like Sword Soul can run this card, like Sky Striker or whatever. There's a lot of decks that can run Pot of Desires, and the Banish 10 cost of running it, like, doesn't affect them at all. So this basically just becomes a free draw 2. And in the case of Sword Soul, it makes your changing like 5,000 attack, like some absurd amount of attack, like 4,000, 5,000, whatever. Like, yeah, I know that Grand Maju players and like rogue decks like this card, but again, this is a win more card that mostly helps decks that are already good be even better. Like it like it increases the skill, the power gap between good decks and like rogue decks, right, or like not so good decks. So I think this card should go back to 1. That's, 2 ban lists ago, I predicted that it'll go to 1. They did put it to 1, and I was right. And people were like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. But if you watch that video, if you watch this video, I'm telling you, this card is a win harder card, right? It's like decks that are already good can abuse the hell out of this. The banish 10 cost, almost non-existent for those decks. But alas, I don't think Konami will actually put this back at 1. They've already tried that. Sword Soul Emergence. Now this is a card that should go to 1. Again, consistency. Some of these decks are way too consistent. There's like so many different ways for Sword Soul to get to their full board, right? I just think that they're way too consistent of a deck. This card should go to 1 to hit some of that consistency. The reason I want to hit a spell and not like, let's say, long run to 1 is because this is kind of a generic searcher, like for any of the monsters that like they're missing right from their main combo. So it makes it a little bit harder for them to consistently make it. And also, if you put this at 1, all of a sudden the banish 10 cost of Pot of Desires starts to feel a little, they start to feel it, right? Because now they banish their emergence or whatever, like it hurts them a little bit more, right? They actually maybe will start to notice the banish 10 off of Pot of Desires. So yeah, this should go to 1. I think in the OCG it went to 1 or 2 at some point. They definitely mess with it in the OCG, so I can see it. Them messing with this in the TCG. Branded opening to 1. That's right, folks. Branded opening to 1. Some people are saying branded fusion should go to 1, or like, no. Branded opening is a bigger problem. Why? Because branded opening, so it's a consistency thing, right? Right. With branded opening, you can get a body onto the field, right, without using your normal summon. And, you can get your Aluber, which is the main starter for, like, the Despia branded plays. And then Aluber can get branded fusion, right? I would rather them normal summon Aluber if they want to search branded fusion rather than just, like, grabbing it from the deck. And another thing about the branded opening is its other effect, which is the more obnoxious one. It says, if a fusion monsters you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from a graveyard instead. So oftentimes, like, branded Despia players can set up, like, 2 or more of sometimes 1 or more of these in the graveyard, and then their fusion monsters just like never die. It's like impossible to kill them because they just have like 2 or more of these sometimes. I think 1 is okay. I think they should have at least 1 because that's like protecting your fusion monster from destruction makes sense. But like if they just mill a bunch into the graveyard is like mindlessly, it's like, okay, well now with only 1 they have to really think about if they want to banish this to keep their fusion monsters alive. So yeah, I think they should go to 1. E-Telly to 1. Wait a minute. Didn't Konami just put this at 3 like 1 or 2 lists ago? Yeah, it did. They did, and it became a problem because, Punk was introduced, right? Which is a bunch of really good psychics, including tuners, right? There's obviously Ghost Ogre. Like maybe if Punk wasn't a thing, like if they didn't release the Punk archetype, maybe this card could go to 3. But like it become pretty clear that like this card. It makes the Punk any deck with the Punk engine way too consistent. It's like it's such a free body, and like it's a secondary effect which says banish the monster during the end phase. It really does nothing. Like this is not gonna, that almost never comes up. So yeah, I think this should go back to 1. I don't see Konami putting it back to 1 after they spent like 2 ban lists, bringing it from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3. But this should go back to 1. I just don't. I would just be very surprised if Konami did. Mystic Mine to 1. So I actually think this card should be banned, but I would be okay with it going to 1. Why is that? So, there are outs to Mystic Mine, but outing it once should make it so that, hopefully you don't have to deal with this card again. Making it 1 means your opponent, is less consistently going to see it, right? Especially if they're a deck that doesn't even like, that's like a totally different archetype. So, there are decks that, like Mystic Mine burn decks, which will be very sad if this goes to 1, but at least they'll be a bit more easier to deal with, right? It's like, yeah, they have Demise in Land, they have Metaverse, they have other ways of getting Mystic Mine, but once you out that first Mystic Mine of theirs, it would be nice if, like, you don't have to deal with it again, right? It would feel a lot better if you just didn't have to deal with it again. Once the first Mystic Mine got it should just be gone, right? So I think this, yeah, I would prefer this card to be banned, but, I would be okay with it going to 1. So 1 or 0. You'll see this card in the my forbidden list position. Harpy's Featherstorm. This is a card that's kind of a. I mean, I've been talking about this in my last two ban lists. Like, this should go to 1, right? Right now, the only decks I use is Flandres, but people kind of hate Flandres already, and this card just makes Flandres seem more degenerate from the perspective of people playing against Flandres. So make it 1, right? I still want Harpy decks to be able to search this. So Harpy Lady decks, yeah, there are people who play like Rogue Harpy Lady decks. They can search this card, right? Flanders cannot search this card. So like it would be a lot harder for them to hard draw their 1 copy. Whereas I want Harpy Lady decks who aren't that powerful to still have access to this card. So I'll keep this at 1. All right, 3 cards here that I'm going to talk about in a specific order. First, let's talk about Sprite Starter. So obviously they are never going to limit Sprite Starter in this ban list, obviously, but this card should be limited to 1 in my opinion. Similar reason for branded opening, similar reason Sourceful Emerge. It's just a consistent thing, right? Right. Spells that special summon from the deck can be very problematic, especially when they're quick play. So yeah, I think it should be at 1. Obviously, Power of the Elements just came out. I don't see any way that Konami is actually going to put this at 1. So it's here. I'm just saying it should be limited to 1. I think in a future list, I can, depending on how other lists, this list proceeds, I can see it possibly going to 1. But right now, yeah, this is it's a consistency hit for Sprite. I want it would be, better to force Sprite to normal summon to give their opponent more options, or knowing that they probably don't have the Sprite Starter, or maybe have to search into it via their Jet, right? Kind of gives the opponents of Sprite a little bit more peace of mind that oh, if I stop their normal summon, if I take out their normal summon, right, I can maybe shut down their turn and they won't have follow up, right? Maybe they will. Maybe they'll have their 1 copy of Sprite Starter, but right now it's at 3, way too consistent. All right, speaking of Sprite, so Swap Frog. I have Swap Frog here, limited to 1. So what's the logic behind this? So I think that Totally Awesome should be banned, right? I'm sure a lot of people think that. However, Sprite is a relatively new archetype, right? Just came out in the latest set. In the OCG, Totally Awesome did get banned, but only after a few rotations and months of Sprite just dominating and just beating everybody, right? However, I still think there's a way for Konami to hit the Sprite deck preemptively, right, or early, without making it so that the deck feels dead and they can still sell stuff. They can still have their, So Swap Frog is a card that, Sprite decks play at 3. Just gives Sprite a lot of gas, right? It just gives them so many extensions, right? Extenders, having access to 3 Swap Frogs. I think you limit this to 1. It slows them down a little bit, right? They can still make their own board. They can still make Totally Awesome, but it's a little harder, and they'll have worse follow up, and you can punish them more, right? So if you want to preemptively hit Sprite anywhere, right? We're not going to hit Starter. I'd be very surprised if they hit Toad. I think you can hit Swap Frog down to 1. That's my opinion, right? All right, Mecha Phantom Beast O-Line. Wait, why is this here? So similar reason Jet Synchron was on the previous ban list. So I think they're getting ready to ban Crystron Halki Fibrax. This card has been on the chopping block for so long, it needs to go. And I think if they ban Crystron Halki Fibrax, I think they can bring Mecha Phantom Beast O-Line back to 1. Although I can totally see Konami being like, oh, we're not going to hit Hulk for whatever reason, but we're still going to bring O-Line back to 1. I mean, they brought Jet Synchron back to 1 after they banned Auroradon, right? So I can see this card coming back with or without Hulk, honestly. But yeah, I think this card can come to 1, just like Jet Synchron did. But I would prefer to do that only if Hulk were banned. So that's my wish list for limited. So what I actually predict Konami to do, I actually can see Konami. So I can actually see Konami putting Mystic Mind to 1. I think they would actually put it to 1 before they put it to 0 for some reason. I can actually see them hitting Sword Soul Emergence to 1. But wait a minute. Didn't you have Sword Soul Emergence on the semi-limit actual prediction? Yes. So I think Konami will actually put it to 1 or 2, right? I'm slightly leaning towards 2, but I can see it. I can see them actually hitting it to 1. O-line, I think whether or not they ban Hulk, and I have a strong feeling they might actually ban Hulk this time. Just like they brought back Jet Synchron, I think they can bring this guy back. Danglong is banned, right? Auroradon combo is gone. So they brought back Jet Synchron. Yeah, it's a good card, but I can totally see them being like, okay, well, Jet Synchron was fine to bring it back to 1. Why not this card, right? So I can see that happening. And then Featherstorm to 1. This is probably my most skeptical card for them. But, I mean, enough players have definitely complained about this card before, so I think it's on their radar. Be surprised if they banned it rather than just putting it to 1, but, I can, yeah. So I would say, like, of all the limited cards, I wish they do. These are the only ones I actually can see them doing, is these 4, right? Maybe even, like, drop Featherstorm and, like, these 3. Okay. All right, let's get to the the forbidden section, the section everyone's been waiting for. So my wish list for banning cards is right here. So Artifact Scythe, ban this card, ban this card, ban this card. This card is cancer. It's degenerate. It's the worst thing ever. Everybody hates Artifact Scythe, and yet people still play it. So just ban it. No more. Like taking out DPE, they didn't really do much. People can still turbo this out or like pop it. They will always find a way to get this card on the field. So just get rid of it. Like just stop it. Mystic Mine to 0. I would like to see this card banned. I would be okay with it at 1, but this card is just way too unhealthy and degenerate for the game. Like OCG has it at 0. I think TCG can follow suit. Yeah, just get this card out of here. Like it's just nobody likes this card. I mean, I get that this card, kind of enables weaker decks to play against stronger decks, but at the same time, like stronger decks can abuse this card too. Just see Nationals, just see YCS, right? Anti-Spell Fragrance. This card should be banned. A lot of people probably share this opinion. It basically took over, and it's like the new Imperial Order. After they banned Imperial Order, they're like, people are just, all right, I'm just gonna run 3 of these, and then like stop people from playing spells. So yeah, I would ban this card. I don't think Konami will because they have product to sell, but I think they should. Right. Before I get to the last one, Totally Awesome should be banned. I don't think they will because Sprite is too recent. Although Toad is a card that's been around for a while, so they could, and I think Sprite would still be a decent deck. Like, what is it? So right now, Sprite in the OCG does not have access to Toad, but they're still like the second best deck. And this second best deck with Tearlaments being the first best deck in the OCG, but then again, the OCG Tearlaments has the Shizu cards, right? So Tearlaments is already like much better in the OCG and TCG. But yeah, Totally Awesome should be banned. This card is like just way too abusive. Crystron Halky Firebrax. I think everyone and their grandmother will predict or wish or desire this card to be banned. It's been on the chopping block for so long. We took out Electromite, we took out Anaconda. This is the last Link 2 that needs to go. Just take it out. No more of these Link 2s that just like extend infinitely, right? Just get rid of it. Let's release the other tuners. Let's get this card out of the game. You sold your product. You got all the reprints you want at Konami. Goes from whatever. It's time. It is now time to ban Crystron Halky Firebrax. All right, the final card I have here is Red Reboot. That's right. It's like, oh, you're just saying that because you're an Eldritch player. Yes, I am biased that I am an Eldritch player, but despite being an Eldritch player, just as a reminder, I actually put Call by the Grave at 3 here. So Call by the Grave shit is really bad for Eldritch, and I still think it should be at 3, right? So why am I calling for Red Reboot to 1? It's not just because I'm a filthy Eldritch player, but it's because Red Reboot is just like a mindless card. Like it's so sacky. Like, okay, people say, oh, it's at 1. It only hits trap decks. Yeah, but the way it hits trap decks is just like they either have Solemn Judgment to stop this or they lose the game, right? It's like have Solemn Judgment or lose immediately, right? Because almost every combo deck has OTK potential in the current format, right? It's very hard to have a combo deck that does not have OTK, right? So yeah, this card just, I mean, it just, and like the amount of thought process, the amount of brain cells and thinking that goes into this card is like non-existent. What do I mean by that? There is never, if you have Red Reboot and you're against, you sided in because you're against a back row deck, there is never really a reason to not play this card as soon as possible, right? So like, you don't have to ever think, as soon as they flip their first trap, immediately Red Reboot. Unless you know for a fact they have Solemn Judgment because you saw it off of TOADALLY or something. But like, in general, if you have Red Reboot in hand and you are against a trap deck, the second they flip their first trap, the second Red Reboot is eligible to be played, it should be played. There is no thinking whatsoever. There's no decision making. It's just like a flow chart. It's like, can Red Reboot be played? If yes, play it. That is like, it's mindless, right? Other cards like Call by the Grave, right? Sometimes you gotta think, hey, which hand trap do I want to hit, right? What do I want to banish from the graveyard? Other cards, you have to think a little bit about like decision making. There's like, you can branch out, you can decide, right? Skill Drain. You don't want a shotgun skill drain for obvious reasons, right? Lord of the Heavenly Prison cannot protect it while it's face up. Cards like Galaxy Cyclone can take it out while it's face up, right? It's a slow effect. There are like, you might say, oh, isn't Red Reboot just like the skill drain for trap decks? No, because the thing is, skill drain can be played around. So if you skill drain against a combo deck, they can still play, right? The trap deck, the player flipping skill drain is not going to OTK you like 90% of the time because trap decks not very good at OTKing, right? And because skill drain only stops monster effects on the field, not graveyard or hand, there's still a lot of things that combo decks can do against skill drain, right? And skill drain is a continuous trap, so if you just take it out, it's gone. Red Reboot, the only counter for Red Reboot is a counter trap like Judgment, right? You know, I guess Dark Bribe also exists, but like Dark Bribe is like a significantly worse card than Judgment, and it's like, yeah, I'm currently playing Dark Bribe because Red Reboot exists. I swear to God, every time my opponent has this card, I never have Judgment. Like, it's, even though Judgment's at 3 and this card's at 1, that's just been my experience. I always see this card at, like, all the time, and I, for some reason, never have Judgment. But anyway, like, if this was a regular trap, maybe it would be fair to keep around. Maybe if this card had another thing that said, the turn you activate this card, you cannot damage your opponent, then maybe it would be a fair card. But like the fact that like a combo deck literally just like the very first activation of your opponent's trap card, Red Reboot, and then OTK instantly. Like there's no counter play whatsoever to Red Reboot. So yeah, this card should be banned. It's already at 1, already been acknowledged as being a problem, right? Which is why it's at 1 in the first place. It should just be banned. Like there's so many outs to back row decks. Like Cosmics exist, Feather Duster exists, Lightning Storm. Even like those cards have more interactability. Like you can actually sort of play around those cards. There's almost no way to play around Red Reboot. It's like you have Judgment or you lose. That's it, right? You can't really play around Red Reboot. So yeah, this card should just be banned. I'd be very surprised if Konami banned this, but like yeah, if they knew any better, they would. Like yeah, I get it doesn't really do anything against combo decks, but just having that one of like as a side option, and like for some reason you always seem to draw it. Like it's just way too busted. Like Feather Duster is okay at 1. I don't think Feather Duster should be banned. There's ways to play around Feather Duster. There's more ways to counter Feather Duster. There's like almost no counters to Red Reboot at all in the whole game, right? Other than like, oh, Judgment. And even that is like, oh, so this card should be banned. So that's my forbidden list wish list. That's what I think should be banned. What will actually be banned? I think Konami will actually ban Scythe this time. Will actually ban Crimson Hawk Fibrax, and will actually ban Mystic Mine. I don't think they'll ban Toad. I would be very surprised if they did. It's kind of early. Power of the Elements just came out. They want to sell Sprite, right? So they're going to keep that around. I don't think they're actually going to ban Red Reboot because Konami, again, they don't actually care that much about making, assessing what's healthy for the game or what's not. But enough people have made a fuss about Mystic Mine. Very few people have made a fuss about Red Reboot. So, yeah, I can see Mystic Mine going, but not Red Reboot. What else did I predict for ban? Anti-Spell Fragrance, right? So, okay, so, yeah, no Toad, no Red Reboot. Oh, Anti-Spell Fragrance. So, obviously, Konami is just about ready to reprint Anti-Spell Fragrance as I believe, an Ultimate Rare, right? And they want to sell that shit, so I don't think they're going to ban it. I don't even see them putting it to 1. I think, in my prediction, they're going to put it to 2 just to say that they did something about it. But, they're like, oh, no, pay us money. Buy your 2 Ultimate Rares of, Anti-Spell Fragrance today, right? Yes, but I can actually see them finally hitting Scythe, Mystic Mine, and Hulk. So that's my banlist prediction for the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG late August / early September banlist. We'll see if I'm right. My predictions have usually been pretty decent before. I think I was one of the few channels to actually predict the Pot of Desires to 1, right? Like, I've been advocating for that for a long time, and they actually did do it. I was very surprised at that. I have also been advocating for Verdi to 1 for a long time. A lot of other people have, but I was surprised they actually did it, right? So, but I did predict Auroradon being banned over Hulk in the last ban list, so I was right about that. So, yeah. Anyway, feel free to leave comments in the comment section. What do you think about my proposed Maxi errata, right? What if we made it so that it's only good going second and does nothing going first, right? Like, just yeah, feel free to bounce your ideas. If I miss any card, let me know. I think I got most of the cards. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be cards that Konami, like, random old cards that they just, like, unban. Like, oh, Cyberjar is banned. Maybe they bring that back to one for whatever reason. Like, I can still see, there's always that. They could pull another change of heart situation on us. Maybe Snatch Steal comes back to one, or Premature Burial. Who knows, right? Um, but yeah, I'm sure there's cards like that, but I'm not gonna comment. I'm not gonna comment on Orca's Heart Pourer. I'm not gonna comment on Thunder Dragon Colossus. Like, there are a lot of cards that other people have been talking about for a long time, but I'm not gonna comment on them because, it just seems a little too random and hard to predict. But also, I wasn't really around for those formats, so I don't actually have that much, uh, I feel, credibility to say anything about those cards. So anyway, although I guess I've played against Colossus and Harpour on Master Duel, and they seem fine. I don't know, like, I can see why people would really hate Colossus, or like an opponent having Colossus. I feel it's a little too easy to bring out Thunder Dragon Colossus. That's my main gripe with it. Like, even on Master Duel, it's like, oh, it's just like one card, you just bring it out, right? Okay, cool. Anyway, all right. Hope y'all enjoyed. Feel free to discuss. Let me know how I'm wrong, or how you're wrong. Uh, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video. If for those of you wondering, oh, the Eldritch deck at the start of my video, is that my official Eldritch profile deck? No, I will be posting a TCG Eldritch deck very, very imminently. People have been asking it for a long time. I've always, like, kind of gave a wishy-washy, vague answer. But yeah, within the next week, I want to say I will be posting my Eldritch deck profile. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.